Week 1 has arrived. We are here. It is Saturday. Every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be coming to you live from the Big Apple, from the office, from the stew, okay? And in the stew, we will be helping y'all with as many sit-start questions as humanly possible over the next 30 minutes, all right? You guys assault me. Thus, we call this Q&Assault. You guys will be in here live with me if you are a Big Dog member. So any Big Dog members, you could sign up on BDGE.co, or the cheapest way that'll get you access all year long is by simply depositing on Underdog Fantasy. So if you go there and you use promo code BDGE and you deposit just $10, you get access to our membership for the entire year. All right? That's the GOAT deal right now, okay? So while we wait for some people to join and while we wait for some questions to roll in, I will try to put all the questions on the screen for y'all so that if you're looking for specific players, you can kind of scrub the video and find them as it's happening in real time or afterwards, because these are private Q&As for the people that are members, but I will put them on YouTube publicly afterwards. Said LFG, Sir Nicholas. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go playing against Saquon this year. All right, let's just address this. It looks like I'm going to be on the wrong side of history when it comes to Saquon Barkley in Philadelphia. I'm going to eat that one. I'm going to take it on the chinny chin chin. He looked good. I don't know what to take away from that game altogether because of the field conditions and all of that stuff, but yeah, you don't rarely see me coming out in week 1 and being like, yep, I'm just wrong about a take, or I don't feel like it's going to go in the right direction. But Saquon last night put me in a little bit of a blender, and we're just going to start off and just say that, yeah, it wasn't great out there. So, unfortunately, if you faded Saquon like I did, or you're playing against Saquon, you're in for a tough week 1. I will die on the hill that Xavier Worthy is still not who people think he is, okay? So like I said, it's going to be tough for me to admit all my wrongdoings, but Saquon, yeah, we're going to be on the wrong side of history for this one, it looks like. Xavier Worthy had 2 catches. You had the guy that he's most competing with targets for, Hollywood Brown, out of the game, and Xavier Worthy had 2 catches, one of which was a broken coverage. So, no, I ain't admitting defeat on that one. Y'all could go freak off. So, we got a full PPR question. Who to use in the flex spot? We got Deontay Johnson or Zach Moss. All right, so here's the thing with Deontay Johnson and the Carolina Panthers offense. I'm going to need to go ahead and see it before I want to start throwing players into my lineup. I know Deontay Johnson should be the first target on many plays, but he also gets the toughest matchup with Marshawn Lattimore out the gate. Listen, with new offensive coordinators, we get excited all offseason, right, with Dave Canales coming in as the head coach and a new system, new scheme. More often than not, like the first few weeks, the first month of the season is far more bumpy than everyone remembers it. Everyone looks back at the end of the year and was like, wow, this scheme switch was awesome, right? Like the new coach, the new offense, it all worked out well. More often than not, like the start of the year is pretty bumpy, trying to figure out the right personnel and trying to figure out all the right play calls that match with all the players. So I'm going to go with Zach Moss. Like right now, it looks like T. Higgins ain't playing. Jamar Chase is a game-time decision. They are big favorites in this one. I actually don't know what the updated line is right now, I guess, given the unknown of both of those receivers. But it's still going to be pretty big to the point where I think both running backs probably get a decent amount of play here. So I'm actually going to lean Zach Moss for you here, Josh. We have Javonte Williams or Najee in full PPR. That's another close one here, as I imagine most of the ones that roll in here will be. So you have Najee playing against Atlanta. It looks like Jaylen Warren is going to be a go. The Falcons have a very, very good run D. Seattle has a really good interior defensive line as well. So I think it's kind of up in the air here. I don't think either of them are necessarily bad starts. I think I would likely lean towards Najee, because if one of these guys is more likely to get game scripted out, I think it will be Javonte, just given the fact that they're almost touchdown underdogs, and Jaleel is just such a clear pass-catching back where I could see him playing, like almost the entire fourth quarter if they're down points there. I think both of them will catch passes. But ultimately, I think Arthur Smith is going to ride Najee in this game for as far as he can. So I'm gonna give it the slight lean to Najee in full PPR. What's up, Mr. Influence? You know what? You know what's the beautiful part about doing this year over year over year? It's like you get comfy with some of the people that are in here. You get to see the same things over and over again, and you start to appreciate the fact that Mr. Influence, I know, is going to show up every Saturday in week 1. He's going to be here, and he's been here for years. So I just want to say I appreciate you, and you don't go unnoticed. You influence me, my friend. Full PPR, 14-teamer. Who's in the flex, Shaheed or Michael Wilson? Ooh, this is kind of spicy. I'm going to go with my man's Michael Wilson off the gate. I think he's got a slight lean for me in full PPR. Like Shaheed is more exciting player with a little bit more upside, but I also don't really trust the Saints offense. I think it's going to be a slow, low-scoring game, whereas you look at the Cardinals and the Bills, and I expect a relatively high-scoring game with two really good offenses. The over-unders all the way at 47.5. Kyler and the Cardinals are 6.5-point underdogs, so expect him to have to throw the ball 35, 40 times. And I think Michael Wilson will walk away with six-ish, 7 targets, and then PPR, I'll probably take that. How you doing? I also want to take a look at, I think towards the end of this video, we'll go into the underdog picks that I have for week 1. If any of you guys want to tail, if we look at the weather reports, nothing major that we need to really keep an eye on. Jacksonville, Miami, Arizona, Buffalo. A little bit of like wind action, maybe a little bit of rain here and there, but nothing crazy that we really need to worry about for week 1. Half PPR, we flex Mostert or Najee. All right, here's where I actually probably flip the script here and go with Mostert, because I think Mostert will probably have close to as many touches as Najee, but has a much higher chance for touchdown upside. Might be overthinking it with T and Chase, probably not playing. Would that give a boost to Chase Brown? Would you start him over Mostert or Monty as a flex RB2? No, I would not. I mean, I understand, where you're thinking about it and where your head's at, but I would still start Mostert and Monty over Chase Brown for show. Oomph. Oomph means one of my followers, right? I saw you write that somewhere, Anna, and it made me feel old as fuck. I didn't know what it meant. At first, I just thought you misspelled oof, and then I'm like, nah, it means something. It means something to us out here. Happy Saturday, whatever. Full PPR. Need a flex. Nico, Amari Cooper, or DJ Moore. Ooh, you need just one of them? I mean, I'm starting Nico. I feel like Stroud is going to put up 35 points against Indy. Amari Cooper's matchup is really tough against Dallas. That should be a sneaky low-scoring game. And then DJ Moore, I mean, I love DJ Moore, and I think he's like a fine option if you prefer him over Nico. They're close to me in full PPR, but the Titans' pass D got a million times better overnight. I was about to say they spun around 1080 degrees, but since I've learned my lesson on that, that means they're the same. I won't use that phrase. They signed L'Jarius Sneed. They signed Chidobe Awuzie. They signed Quandre Diggs. Like, their entire secondary is overhauled. So I expect them to be a lot better and put a lot of focus on DJ Moore. And I think, like, with a sneaky strong secondary, the Titans could give Caleb some problems in his rookie debut. So I will lean Nico here. How do we feel about Josh Palmer this week? He's got a 34.5 discounted line on Underdog. Yeah, I mean, he's my preferred receiver in LA for this week. I think with LA, like, there's so much uncertainty between the backfield and the rest of the receivers. Like, the only thing I feel, not that I feel certain about, but the only thing I feel good about the stability here is that Josh Palmer will play the very large majority of snaps. So with that, yeah, 34.5 feels good. Like, the reception line's probably pretty good, like 3.5, 4.5, whatever. I would take the more on 3.5 receptions. But, yeah, I like that discounted line. Full PPR, Andre Yoshivas or Rome Odunze. Okay, here's probably where I cross the line. Like, I get it. Okay, so here's my read on the Higgins-Chase situation. I actually have no fucking idea what T. Higgins is doing out here, telling us that he's good to go, and now he's not playing. So if like T and Chase play, obviously it's Rome Odunze here. If both of them sit, I'm going to lean Yoshivas. It looks like Jamar Chase is going to play. I think Jamar Chase is him coming out and saying, oh, I'm going to be limited or like limited snaps, game time decision, whatever. If he's active, I'm not worried about Jamar Chase. I think if he's active, he's going to play 80% of the snaps. He'll play in the important parts of the game as well, like in the red zone, near the end zone. When he's on the field, like the plays will be written up for him. Jamar Chase, I'm sure, is in good shape. He also has that chemistry with Joe Burrow. So he's not like a new piece here. He's not unfamiliar with his quarterback. So if Jamar Chase is on the field, he's going to play a lot of the snaps, I bet. Which makes Andre Yoshivas like a much less enticing play. So I think ultimately I would lean Rome here. All that yapping to say. One of my friends. How did I not? What is wrong with me? Full PPR, Njoku or Komet? Ooh, yeah. This one I'm just not really going to overthink right now. Njoku. I know there's a lot of chatter about like Cole Komet being like a. This is with all the offseason like yelling about the tight ends and how they're splitting snaps in the preseason. It feels overblown to me. Like Komet's going to be the pass catcher there, and then they're like, oh, Pat Freiermuth splitting snaps, gets a fucking extension like 2 days ago. Like shh. But at the same time, I'm still going Njoku here. I think like with Njoku, they're going to struggle against Dallas probably, and I think like what happens with offenses when they struggle against teams is like they try to manufacture plays, and Njoku is such a big part of the screen game that I imagine that they'll try to do that with him for this one. Full PPR, I need a replacement for Higgins in the flex. How do we feel about Chase Brown, Andre Yoshivas, Keon Coleman, or Brian Robinson? Okay, so you have some good options here. I would not go Yoshivas unless both Bengals receivers are out. Keon's a good option, but I probably still want to see what's going on with that wide receiver room in week 1 before I trot him out. I don't hate Brian Robinson. It's a really good matchup against the Buccaneers, who actually let up a lot of, people assume that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are like this great stout defense, and they're pretty good against the run, but Brian Robinson, I think, is versatile enough that he could get some points going through the air, etc. And with their defense letting up a lot of points, I think they're going to have to throw on the flip side of things. Ultimately, I think I probably would lean Chase Brown here, though. I really don't hate any of the options, but I think ultimately I'd probably lean Chase Brown because they're going to have to lean on the running backs in this game with their receivers in shambles. How are we feeling about Saquon? Yeah. We already addressed it. I know. I'm on the wrong side of fucking history there. If it's any consolation, you fading Saquon isn't as bad as Mason's take on Puka last year. I mean, we'll see. Full PPR, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. DJ Moore, McLaurin, Pickens, Christian Kirk, Jerome Ford. So DJ Moore is the easy one for me here. He's definitely getting into my wide receiver spot. And then you need to pick a flex spot, full PPR. So McLaurin, I really like the matchup. I'm a little bit nervous just about Jaden Daniels in general. Like, I don't know how much success this passing offense is going to have. I don't trust Cliff. I still think McLaurin's probably my 2 here. It's really close between him and Christian Kirk. The Pickens, the Falcons-Steelers matchup feels kind of gross. The over-under is 41.5. I just don't see a lot of explosive plays with Justin Fields in the passing game, even though Russ is kind of a game-time decision and they might start him and he might be hampered. I think ultimately I'd probably lean DJ Moore and then either McLaurin or Christian Kirk. They're so close for me. The Christian Kirk train should be pretty heavily utilized in week 1. They're playing against Miami. That over-under is like 49. We're expecting fucking fireworks in that game. Jalen Ramsey's probably out for this one. So this was their pass rush is obviously going to be super depleted, which will give T-Law time. And their secondary would be their like holding grace here. However, with Jalen Ramsey out, like that is a huge downgrade for them. So I don't really have a problem with Terry or Christian Kirk. I guess if it's my lineup, I'm probably going to go with Christian Kirk. And let me see 1 week out of Jaden Daniels. Let me see 1 week out of Washington before I, anoint this passing offense absolutely fucking fixed. And same thing with Pickens. You could let it sit. Like, if it was, instead of Christian Kirk, it was like Gabe Davis or Brian Thomas Jr., I think I'd have to get a little bit more risky with the McLaurin or a Pickens tied to the quarterbacks that they have. But since you have Christian Kirk as such a stable piece of a full PPR lineup, like, I feel relatively good with him. So I go more on Kirk there. Your thoughts on Jamar Chase if he plays in a limited role? Not sure if I should bench him for Christian Kirk or Chase Brown. Yeah, like I said before, honestly, if Jamar Chase is active, I'm playing him. Standard, need 2. Chase, Waddle, Ayuk, Moss, or Pollard. Wait. You need 2 over those 5, or you need like 1 wide receiver and then 1 running back? Get back to me on that, OCG. Are you high on Adonai this season or too early to tell? I mean, I loved him as a prospect. He was my wide receiver 4 in this class overall. I think he's like one of the most pure route runners. I think he's going to be a fucking stud. But situation-wise, it's hard to tell what we're going to get out the gate. I think this will be a very run-heavy offense, obviously. However, against Houston, they're going to have to play catch-up. So I expect Anthony Richardson to throw the ball a decent amount. The run defense for Houston is really, really good, so they will air the ball out a bit. Josh Downs is not going to play in week 1, so if there's going to be a week that Adonai really like kind of pops off, I think this could be it. Derek Stingley probably plays Michael Pittman a lot, so hard to be really high on him overall. I think he'll have a really good, a really efficient season that gets us excited for him next year. Statistically speaking, though, with how run-heavy this offense is and how many good playmakers they have in the offense, it's hard to see a ton of ceiling coming out of A.D. Mitchell. Not sure if you addressed this already, but is Fields starting for Pittsburgh? It's still unsure. Russell Wilson is traveling with the team. He is taking the ride to Atlanta with them, and they're going to test out his calf tomorrow, so it's still a game-time decision. Any latest update on Jordan Love? So what I've gathered from last night is that it's very likely a combination of a high ankle sprain plus an MCL sprain. We will get more news when he gets back to Green Bay and they look at it more deeply. There's a possibility for an ACL tear. However, there were reports that he was walking around and like not limping too severely. There are people that are able to like walk around on an ACL tear and are able to like not fully function, but still you're not like incapable. You're not like fucking paralyzed from the waist down if you tear your ACL in some instances. So that's not ruled off. I will say for the most part, what I've gathered is that it's almost definitely going to be like a 3-4 week injury at best, I think. High ankle sprain, we've seen quarterbacks play through it, though. We've seen quarterbacks, miss like a week, 2 weeks, and then just kind of gut through the pain on the high ankle sprain. The problem is if it's a severe MCL sprain, he's going to have to miss time. He doesn't need surgery. It's not necessarily something that I think is a definite for him. So I wouldn't rule him automatically like out for the season or anything like that, but we won't hear more until he gets back to Green Bay and has some MRIs. Hey, I need some help to choose between my wide receiver starters. I can start 4, and I have Jamar, Keenan, Tank Dell, Cooper Kupp, Ridley, or Olave versus the Panthers. All right, you got a lot of fucking really good players. Matt, do me a favor. Can you give me the scoring settings on this? Is this full PPR? Is this half PPR? My gut instinct off the rip is that like Cooper Kupp is definitely in my lineup. I think I'm going to lean Tank Dell as one of the spots as well. Jamar, if he is playing, he's probably in my lineup as well. And then what do we got? Keenan, Ridley, and Olave. Ridley is probably my sit. Chicago actually is a really good secondary. And then Keenan versus Olave. I'm probably going to lean Olave there. Joshy, baby. Bench stash question. Would you rather have Tyler Lockett or Jalen Polk? Polk was just dropped in my home league, but would need to drop Lockett for him. I would likely hold on to Lockett, I think. I want to see what this new offense under Grubb looks like in Seattle. I think there's the chance that Polk has a good game in week 1. I think you're less likely to need to go out and like drop a bunch of fab on him after week 1, because with rookies, they take a minute to get into the lineups for these professional teams. He's going to split time with Tyquan Thornton and KJ Osborne, and I don't think that will be the case a month from now. But I think in week 1, like Jacoby Brissett's going to pass for 190 yards. I don't think you have to worry too much about Polk having a huge game in week 1 because his play time will be muffled a little bit. There's a chance he goes like 4 for 70 and a touchdown, and that would be worst case scenario. But I think if you play the odds, it's less likely that he has a big game in like week 1 or 2 while Jacoby Brissett's playing, while he's getting 50, 40% of the snaps right now. So I think I would hold on to Lockett, see what that offense looks like, see if we get the old Lockett, and then run from there. Standard, need 2, please. Chase, Waddle, Ayuk. Okay, so this is just standard scoring. Straight up standard scoring. If that's the case, I actually think I'm probably going to sit Ayuk. Like, okay, so here's my thinking. Standard scoring, you need to lean heavily towards touchdowns. Chase is definitely the best touchdown scorer of the 3. He is the most likely to score. They are the team that's most likely to win their game and have success in the passing offense. And you might say, okay, Jamar Chase, again, this is obviously if he's active. If Chase is active, him and Ayuk are in the same situation where they basically both just sat out for the entire summer. So you shouldn't feel better about Ayuk as opposed to Chase just because Chase came out and said, oh, I'm going to be, limited in the game or whatever. And Ayuk has a matchup that is 1,000 times more difficult. Like, he's going to see Sauce Gardner pretty much the entire game because Debo doesn't really play outside. Kittle don't play outside. C-Mac is going to run the ball 100 times. Ayuk has the toughest matchup. So Waddle playing against Jacksonville with that 49-point over-under, Waddle seems to be on par with Chase in terms of likelihood to score a touchdown. So if you look at, let's do actually? Let's see if they have him up right now. This is something that I really, really suggest people utilize more often, and that is the lines up on Underdog to help give like a realistic viewpoint of what the yardages are expected to be for week 1. I don't know if they'll have everyone's yardage up just because like with Vegas, they don't put up lines if like something's really uncertain. Okay, so they have Jamar Chase at 67.5 receiving yards with a 1.12x chance of scoring a touchdown. So it's a little bit lower than 50-50. So this is what they have for him for week 1. They don't have a reception lineup, unfortunately. We got Jalen Waddle at 61.5 receiving yards with a little bit of a lower odd shift of scoring a touchdown. And then we have Brandon Ayuk down at 54.5. So he has the lowest receiving yardage total as well as the worst odds to score a touchdown, as well as the lowest reception. Like, he was lower than Jalen Waddle in receptions. He has the lowest fantasy point total, too, because this is another good tiebreaker. This is half PPR. It shows you Ayuk at 9.95. It had Waddle, I believe, at 11 or 10.5 or something, 11.95. So that's a pretty significant jump up in fantasy points. And then Chase, they don't have on here, but his yardage is much higher. His chances of scoring a touchdown are higher, so his fantasy points are going to be higher. So, again, use websites like Underdog to help you with tiebreakers, to give you a realistic view of like how Vegas is viewing players and their stats for the game. And I think that's a really good use case for it. So, I came to that conclusion on my own, but I think that was also a great tiebreaker for you guys. And while we're on here, let me actually show you some pick'ems that I have for tomorrow. I just put this one in. Again, if you guys are new to Underdog, you're not on Underdog yet, if you go and deposit on Underdog with $10 and you use our code BDGE if you're a first-time depositor, not only are you going to get a deposit bonus on here, you'll get a free square right away. So you see like Najee Harris, 7.5 receiving yards, James Cook, 81.5. You will have someone whenever you deposit, this is how it works, that is at 0.5. So it's literally a free square for you, 0.5 yards. But you'll get a deposit bonus. You'll get a 0.5 yardage square, and then you'll get access to these Q&As to ask your questions every single Saturday going forward for the remainder of the season. You get a free Big Dog membership account. So it's literally, there's no fucking downside. It's $10. $10 for the entire season. It's a beautiful thing. I got Najee over 7.5 receiving yards. I just think that's so low. James Cook higher than 81.5 total yards. against Arizona. The matchup is fucking beautiful. I have... Oh, you know what? Someone asked me about the Josh Palmer reduced total, and I actually took it. I forgot about that. So I have him higher than 34.5. They have a bunch of discounts going for week 1. And then I took Caleb higher than 0.5 interception. So as I was talking about, the Tennessee secondary is super, super improved with L'Jarius Sneed and Awuzie and Quandre Diggs, etc. And Caleb's style of play is scrambles, tries to make plays, and against a good secondary, I could see him throwing an interception. What else do I got here? Josh Jacobs last night, I had my longest reception higher than 10.5, which we hit the first leg of that, so we're just kind of waiting to see if Najee Harris can go higher than 8.5 receiving yards. So they actually went higher. They actually dropped the line a yard on Najee. He's now at 7.5, so you can cop that right now. Also, just to say, if at any point you want to just see what bets I'm taking, what slips I'm making, what cookies we are fucking baking, you could do that on Pickett. Pickett is this app where you could track all of your bets. Like, you could sync all your books together, Underdog, BetMGM, fucking ESPN Bet, whatever you use, you could sync it on Pickett absolutely free, and it tracks all your bets, like over time, throughout the month, throughout the week, or whatever. And it's also like a social app where you could follow everybody. So that is linked down below. Literally, if you click that link and use our code BDGE when you deposit, or when you get on the app, it's free. Sorry, no deposit. It'll automatically follow my account, and I think it'll give you anywhere from $3 to $100 just fucking for free on your account. So all the ones that I just told you that I took, they also have on here listed, so you could trail or take mine, whatever. Lamar Jackson, that was the free square I had. I was telling you guys about the free square. So let's jump back into questions. How you doing? 4-point per passing touchdown. Do you like T-Law or Baker better this week as QB2? I'm going to take T-Law. I like Baker in the matchup. I think it's good, but I will definitely lean T-Law because Jalen Ramsey's probably out. That's going to be a really high-scoring game, and I think if Ramsey was there, I'd be a little bit more hesitant, but I think with the deep pass catchers in Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. and Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, like, I'm in on T-Law for this week. Standard, we have Moss or Pollard. Let's go back to Underdog and see what they think. My heart tells me Pollard, but my brain kind of tells me Zach Moss. So Zach Moss is at 1.25 to score a touchdown and 61.5 total yards, where I think Pollard is probably lower than that. So Pollard's at 1.33 to score a touchdown and 56.5 total yards. So Vegas has Moss as a slight favorite, which I think I agree with. Chicago's run D was actually really good last year, and could be pretty good off the rip right away. Just like a new, just a new energy there in Chicago. I think if Caleb scores a lot of points, then Tennessee's gonna have a tough time just like establishing the run here. And on the flip side, the Bengals are huge favorites against New England, so I'm gonna lean Moss there. He said full PPR. Oh, let me go back to your question. I forget what you asked. Okay, you had the big wide receiver question. Okay, so it was Jamar, Keenan, Tank Dell, Cooper Kupp, Ridley, Olave. Man, I really think you're splitting hairs here, to be quite honest with you. Cooper Kupp is a definite start for me. I want Jamar in there too, unless obviously if he sits, he's not in your lineup. But unless the vibes come out and it's really fucking bad, like there's a report that like Jamar Chase is only going to get a handful of snaps or something, then I would sit him. But otherwise, like I'm not really buying that he's not going to play 75-80% of snaps. So Cooper Kupp, Jamar, Tank Dell, and then choice between Keenan, Ridley, or Olave. I would lean Olave. Keenan would be my second choice there. So if you have a personal lean for Olave or Keenan, I would take your shot there, but I think ultimately I'd probably play Olave. Do we expect Rashi to get suspended at all this season, but think of selling him? I would not sell him. Did you watch Thursday Night Football, sir? I don't think the suspension is coming this year. If Jamar doesn't play, should I replace him with Ridley or Keenan? Yeah, so like I said, I think I give a slight lean to Keenan there. Thoughts on Pollard rest of season? I like how, thoughts on Pollard rest of season. There's no difference between the way I thought about him all draft season because the season hasn't started yet. I like Pollard. I think he's he's a nice, solid, low-end RB2. What up, Goose? Never thought of utilizing this on Underdog, honestly. Yeah, dude, again, of course, like we partner with them and I want to promote them and I want to get you guys on the platform and use our code while you're doing it. But it's also like a really good resource where these companies, the Underdogs, the DraftKings, the FanDuels, whoever are making these lines, they got really fucking smart dudes running numbers and running data and building algorithms to make these lines, okay? Some of them outsource to other companies where they have really fucking smart people also making the lines. So, like, we could sit here and project and, like, make estimations and assumptions about shit, but these dudes are already kind of doing the work for us, to be honest with you, and they put you along the right path a lot of the time. So it's one of just, like, the sneakiest ways to really, like, zone in on tiebreakers, in my opinion. Which quarterback would you start this week, Caleb Williams or Tua? I have Tyreek and DJ Moore. I would definitely go with Tua this week. Standard, Kirk or Moss for the flex? Ooh, standard. A lot of y'all playing in standard leagues. What are we doing? Standard, I'm going to go Moss there. Full PPR, I'm leaning Tua over Kyler this week. Ooh, that's probably where I draw the line. I don't think I would play Tua over Kyler right now. I'd play Kyler there. Would Olave over Keenan change if I told you I have Caleb as my super flex? Ooh, maybe. I guess, you know what? I do preach stacking as a tiebreaker. So in the case that I have Olave and Keenan near each other, I would probably lean that way, but I don't think I really have them that close. I don't have my rankings up right now for me, but just remembering when I was setting them, I believe I have Olave like a tier above Keenan. So I would still stick with Olave there. All right, looks like the questions are slowing down, and for the most part, these Q&As are going to be about 30 minutes long. So thank you guys for hanging out with me for today. And again, if I leave you with anything, do us a favor. Go download the Pickett app. It is absolutely free to download. It is awesome. You sync all of your sports books at the same time. Like, it is the easiest way to keep track of what the fuck is going on a given Sunday. If you are in multiple apps, and like in the modern day betting age, everybody's on multiple apps. Everybody has multiple sports books. Everybody has the Underdogs and the Prize Picks and all of these fucking things. So go to Pickett, download the app, use the code down below. So when you first get on, they'll ask you like, who sent you? Throw in BDGE. Again, it's not going to cost you anything. Absolutely free. It would go a long way with us. It helps you support us. And again, it's free. So if you guys appreciate the content that we did all summer, I appreciate you for doing this. I love you. I think there was like one or two questions that rolled in that I'll answer real quickly before I dip. But Anna said, not a star question, but how do you feel about your matchup against Jack this week? Honestly, fucking great. Jack's team is kind of cheeks. He had Mark Andrews and Jalen Hurts go, and I had A.J. Brown, and A.J. Brown has outscored those two combined. So, feeling fucking good. Really fucking annoying that T. Higgins just out of nowhere is hurt, because I thought he was going to be like a real nice staple for me as my wide receiver 3, but good thing A.J. Brown kind of popped. Do you like the Saints defense this week, or should I swap for Bears or Vikings? So, the tiebreaker for me all the time is teams with big spreads. So you got the Saints -4. The Vikings are only -1.5, and they're on the road. So I don't really love that. The Bears are 3.5-point favorites at home. So it's close between the Bears and the Saints for me. I think I would go with the Bears defense here. I think they have more high-end skill players that are young and youthful and like more likely to make plays. All right, y'all. Thank you for hanging out. Again, if you want to be in this live stream next week, bdge.co to be a member, or just sign up on Underdog using promo code BDGE when you deposit $10 or more. You'll get access to the Big Dog membership for the entire year, full free. Love you. Smoochies.